During an attack inside the hospital, my girlfriend grabbed my wrist and shoved me straight toward a man holding a knife. She wasn't trying to save me. She was trying to save the surgeon standing behind me. Her first love, the brilliant new doctor everyone in our hospital had been talking about for months. And when I confronted her afterward, she looked me in the eye and said, "I should have understood. You've taken a knife for someone before." Yeah, I had. Years earlier, I'd thrown myself between an attacker and the physician who trained me. That decision had already cost me the steady surgical hand I once had. Apparently, to the woman I loved, that meant I was disposable twice. The whole thing happened so fast that for the first few seconds, nobody even understood what was happening. One moment the surgical floor was normal, nurses moving between rooms, monitors beeping, residents arguing over charts. The next, somebody screamed. A man came charging down the hall, waving a knife and shouting that the hospital had ruined his life. "Move, get the patients out. Security." The entire floor exploded into chaos. I remembered something my old mentor used to say during emergency drills. If something happens, get behind the equipment. The machines are expensive enough to stop idiots. It was dark humor. Doctors develop that kind of humor. I grabbed a terrified young resident standing beside me and started pulling her toward one of the heavy equipment stations. Then someone caught my arm. For one stupid second, I thought it was Allison, my girlfriend. I thought she was pulling me to safety with her. Instead, she yanked me backward and shoved hard. I stumbled 3 or 4 steps into the open hallway, directly toward the attacker. I remember seeing his face. I remember the knife. I remember thinking, no way. She did not just do that. Dr. Morris, one of the older physicians on the floor, grabbed the back of my coat and dragged me sideways. "Evan, what the hell are you doing?" The attacker lunged, and because I had been pulled clear, the knife missed me. It caught someone else. Ryan Mercer, Allison's high school sweetheart. The man she had repeatedly told me was just an old friend. Ryan cried out and went down. Security tackled the attacker seconds later. The wound was in Ryan's leg. There was blood, but it wasn't deep enough to threaten his life. You wouldn't have known that from Allison's reaction. She pushed through everybody and dropped beside him. "Ryan." Her face had gone completely white. "Ryan, look at me." He winced. "It hurts. Get a stretcher." Someone told her security had the situation under control. She didn't even seem to hear them. "Ryan, stay awake. Don't close your eyes." I stood against the wall, still trying to process the fact that 30 seconds earlier, my girlfriend had deliberately pushed me toward an armed man. Ryan reached up and touched Allison's face, and then, in front of half the department, he asked her softly, "If I died, would you miss me?" Every head turned toward me. Because I was Allison's boyfriend, Ryan was supposed to be the old friend, the harmless first love, the guy I supposedly had nothing to worry about. He was taken to a treatment room. His injury turned out to be painful but manageable. He wasn't dying. He wasn't losing his leg. He wasn't even in danger of permanent damage. Still, Allison stayed with him. She sat beside the bed, held his hand, adjusted his blanket, talked to him in this careful, gentle voice. I hadn't heard her use with me in months. "Still hurting?" Ryan swallowed dramatically. "A little." She squeezed his fingers. "I wish it had been me." I was standing near the doorway. Neither of them noticed me. Ryan looked at her like she had just handed him his life back. "I thought I might never see you again." Allison lifted his hand and pressed it against her lips. He stared at her. Then he said, "I came back here because of you." She froze. Ryan continued, "I took the position at this hospital because I knew you were here." "Ryan, let's try again." I actually stopped breathing for a second. He kept going. "I can't keep pretending those years meant nothing. Being away from you is miserable. What we had back then, it was good, Allison." She didn't pull her hand away. Ryan smiled softly. "We were good. And I thought, yeah, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So beautiful that neither one of them had noticed the boyfriend standing 10 feet away. A young nurse came in carrying supplies. "Dr. Carter, could you move a little? I need to change Dr. Mercer's dressing." That was when they finally saw me. Allison jerked her hand away from Ryan. "Evan." She looked almost annoyed. "What are you doing here?" I stared at her. Then I laughed. "I'm sorry. Was I interrupting the reunion?" "Evan, listen." "Explain what?" My voice was shaking despite everything I was doing to control it. "Explain why you told me he was just a former classmate." "That's what he is." "Really?" I pointed toward Ryan. He just asked you to get back together. Ryan looked uncomfortable. Allison stood. This isn't the place. No. Apparently this is exactly the place. My eyes burned. You want to explain why? During an attack, you grabbed me and shoved me toward a man with a knife. She went silent. Go ahead. I panicked. Did you? Yes. You somehow panicked in exactly the direction. That put me between the knife and Ryan. I wasn't thinking clearly. I laughed without humor. Sure. She hesitated. Then came the real explanation. Ryan is a surgeon. For a second, I honestly thought I had misunderstood her. What? He's an exceptional surgeon. So, his hands are his career. I stared at her. She continued, speaking slowly, almost like I was the unreasonable one. If his hand was seriously injured, it could destroy everything he worked for, and me. You don't operate full-time anymore. There it was. I felt something inside me go cold. Allison saw my face change. Evan, that isn't what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. She touched my shoulder. I moved away. She lowered her voice. You're strong. Security was already coming. I only needed a few seconds. You used my body to buy those seconds. Nothing happened to you, because Dr. Morris pulled me away. People outside the room were pretending not to listen. They were absolutely listening. Allison whispered, keep your voice down. No, Evan, you decided Ryan's hands mattered more than my life. That's not fair. Why didn't you protect him yourself? She froze. There was a long pause. Then she said, I'm a surgeon too. I nodded. Of course she was. You need your hands. Yes, Ryan needs his hands. Yes, and apparently I'm the hospital's emergency human shield. She looked frustrated. That's childish. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Then she made it worse. You did it before. Every muscle in my body tightened. What? You protected your mentor during an attack. Don't. You were willing to take that risk for Dr. Harris. Do not bring him into this. Why? You understood sacrifice then. Why is it different now? I stared at her. There are things people say that you remember forever, not because they're clever, but because something dies inside you while you're listening. That was one of them. She was using one of the most traumatic moments of my life as evidence. That I should have been willing to get stabbed for her first love. I asked quietly, so you really believe I should have done it? She sighed. I believe sometimes adults have to look at the bigger picture. Something in me snapped. Allison, what? We're done. Her expression changed. What? I'm breaking up with you. She stared at me like I had suddenly started speaking another language. For several seconds, nobody said anything. Then her face went strangely calm. Cold, almost. Fine. I waited. She adjusted her glasses. You want honesty? Please. Ryan was recruited from overseas because of his surgical record. The hospital made exceptions to get him here. He's incredibly talented. I laughed softly. And, you're not at his level. That one landed. Not because I believed her. Because she knew where to aim. You think I don't know what happened to your career? She continued. You think I don't know why you transferred departments? Stop. You were brave once. You protected your teacher. Why couldn't you do the same for another doctor? I looked at her. Why couldn't you? Her face tightened. Would you really want me hurt? Yes. She actually stepped backward. Evan, if my choices are you getting hurt because you choose to protect your ex-boyfriend, or me getting hurt because you shoved me in front of him, yeah, I choose you. She stared at me like I was a monster. Your heart is made of stone. No, I just finally understand the arrangement. I looked toward Ryan. He matters. Then back at her. You matter. I touched my chest. And I'm the spare part. To understand how we reached that point, you need to understand who Allison used to be to me. She was 1 year ahead of me in medical school. We first met at a gathering organized by one of my classmates. Allison already had a great reputation, St. Joseph Medical Center. Smart, calm, disciplined. She was one of those physicians interns, talked about like she had life figured out. That night, a bunch of us surrounded her with questions. Residency, boards, difficult attendings, hospital politics. She answered everything patiently. Before she left, she added several of us on social media. If you're confused about something, ask. At first, she was just another contact in my phone. Then I started my hospital training and discovered she had a close relationship with one of my supervising physicians. Whenever I got stuck on something, I asked her. Those conversations got longer, then more personal. Eventually we started getting coffee together. The first time I realized I had feelings for her was when my appendicitis flared up unexpectedly. My supervising physician was away at a medical conference. My parents lived several states away. I was in horrible pain, trying to act like I wasn't. Allison found me crouched against a wall. What are you doing? Nothing. You're sweating. I'm fine. You're on the floor. Strategic resting. She rolled her eyes. Within an hour, she had called one of her own mentors. In the middle of the night and arranged surgery. She even found someone to help take care of me afterward. My parents couldn't get there immediately. Allison handled everything. Medication, food, paperwork. She checked on me constantly. When I called my parents, I pretended everything was under control. She stood outside the room listening. Later, she said, "You don't always have to pretend you're okay." I fell for her hard. After I recovered, I invited her to lunch in the hospital cafeteria. Two attending physicians saw us. One laughed. "Neither of you is dating anyone, right?" I nearly choked on my drink. The other said, "Problem solved. Hospital romance." I stared at my food like it had suddenly become medically fascinating. Allison only smiled. A week later, she asked me to take a walk after work. I remember the moon at night, because it was ridiculously bright. She stopped near the parking garage. "Evan, yeah, I've been thinking about something." That sentence terrified me. Then she said, "When I saw you sick that night, it scared me." I said nothing. "You were in pain, but when you talked to your parents, you pretended. Everything was fine. You always try to look stronger than you feel." She smiled. "I worried about you." My heart was pounding. Then she said, "I know I'm busy." I laughed. "We're doctors. We're all busy. I'm still busy enough to have a boyfriend." I stared at her. She looked amused. That was me asking. "Oh, very impressive response. Yes. Yes what? Yes. I'll be your boyfriend." She smiled. Back then, that smile could fix my entire week. A year later, we rented a small apartment near the hospital. Our life was boring in the best possible way. On nights neither of us was on call, we sat at the kitchen table with medical textbooks thick enough to stop bullets. We reviewed cases, watched surgical lectures, argued over journal articles. We even bought bags of grapes and practiced suturing technique on them because Allison was obsessed with making clean closures. "You're pulling too tight." "I am not." "You're strangling the grape. It's fruit. Respect your patient." We laughed constantly. We learned together, grew together, supported each other. We almost never fought. 4 years. I thought we were one of those rare couples who had somehow gotten it right. Then Ryan Mercer arrived. 6 months before the attack, the rumors started. Ryan and Allison had gone to high school together. They had dated when they were young. First love, teenage romance. The kind people romanticize because nobody remembers how stupid they actually were at 17. I asked Allison about him. She shrugged. "We were kids. That's it. That's it. People are saying. People talk." She kissed my cheek. "He's an old classmate. Nothing more." And because I trusted her, I believed her. I believed she was too rational to get pulled into nostalgia. That was how I saw Allison. Rational, clear-headed, responsible. The attack changed that. Or maybe it exposed what had always been there. Afterward, when I finally told her again that the relationship was over, she frowned. "You're angry." "Yes. So calm down first." "No. Any man dealing with his girlfriend's first love is going to feel threatened. Think clearly before you make a permanent decision." I almost laughed. Even then she was doing it, standing there talking about maturity, while I was the one who had almost taken a knife because of her. "If you still want to break up after you've calmed down," she said, "I'll respect your decision. You want this too." Her expression changed. "You want Ryan. That isn't true." "Then stop performing." I walked away. A voice behind us said, "I agree." It was Dr. Maya Hayes from cardiology. Maya was beautiful in a dangerous, mischievous kind of way. She had apparently been watching the entire argument while eating. She lifted her fork. "If Dr. Carter says it's over, it's over. Adults don't need a 12-part negotiation." Allison's face turned green. "Maya, this doesn't involve you." Maya shrugged. "I'm enjoying lunch." The hospital and police began investigating the attack. Everyone who had been on the floor gave statements. When it was my turn, I explained that I wasn't assigned to surgery that day. My shift had ended. I had gone upstairs to meet my girlfriend for dinner. Then the attack happened. Before the interview ended, I said, "There's something else." The administrator looked up. "What?" During the attack, Dr. Bennett grabbed me after. I was already moving away from the attacker. The room became very still. She pushed me back into his path. One of them frowned. "You're saying intentionally. That's what I want investigated." I had an audio recording from part of our confrontation afterward. On it, Allison said enough about protecting Ryan's career to make her intentions worth examining. I handed it over. The hospital administrator promised they would coordinate with police. Later that day, I was eating lunch in the cafeteria with Maya and several co-workers. Maya had somehow assembled enough food for 6 people. One resident looked between us. Dr. Carter, when did you and Dr. Hayes become this close? Maya answered before I could. We're friends. I raised an eyebrow. That's news to me. Congratulations. You learned something today. Everyone laughed. Then somebody saw Allison. She was carrying a lunch container, obviously meant for Ryan. Instead of heading toward his room, she walked straight toward our table. Evan, we need to talk. We really don't. The entire table went silent, except Maya. She kept eating. Evan, Maya said. Eat before it gets cold. Allison stared at her, then at me. So that's it. What? You and her? I blinked. You think I broke up with you because of Maya? You two seem attached. Her lunch container hit the table harder than necessary. The metal made a sharp sound. Several people turned. I said, don't assume everybody behaves the way you do. Her jaw tightened. We broke up because of Ryan. People around us were openly listening now. I continued. Dr. Ryan Mercer, surgery, your first love. Stop. You wanted him back. He wanted you back. I decided I wasn't interested in being the third person in your relationship. Maya clapped slowly. Excellent. No love triangles. Very healthy. Allison looked furious. Are you trying to humiliate me? I'm stating what happened. I am not dating Ryan. Then congratulations. You pushed your boyfriend toward a knife for a man you're not even dating. She went silent. I said, if the hospital investigates this properly, fine. If they don't, I'll deal with it through the appropriate legal channels. Allison's face changed. She lowered her voice. You've always hated public drama. No. You hate public drama when the facts make you look bad. That was another thing I had finally understood. Whenever we used to argue, I sometimes asked a close friend or family member for perspective. Allison hated it. Relationship problems stay inside the relationship. Once I asked, even my closest friends, she said, they're outsiders. But now, when she wanted everyone to think I was jealous and unstable, suddenly, the public version of our breakup was acceptable. I pushed my food away. We're done here. After she walked off, Maya leaned toward me. Have you moved out yet? Not completely. Why? I've been working. Then move tonight. I looked at her. Maya grinned. I'll help. That evening, I went back to the apartment Allison and I had shared. She was there. Neither of us had cleaned much that week. A thin layer of dust covered the furniture. I opened the closet and started folding clothes into boxes. Allison stood near the balcony. She didn't help. She didn't argue. She just watched. Most of what I owned fit into a few boxes and one suitcase. I left all the shared household items, dishes, furniture, appliances. I didn't want a war over a coffee maker. When I finished, I called Maya. Done. I'm downstairs. I sat on the couch for a minute. Years of my life were inside that apartment. First dinners, exams, late night study sessions, arguments over laundry, Christmas mornings after overnight shifts. You can know a relationship needs to end and still mourn the room where it happened. I stood. Allison finally spoke. What exactly is your relationship with Maya? Why? Answer me. We're friends. She watched me roll my suitcase toward the door. Evan. I stopped. She said, I'm asking you one last time. Are you really walking out that door? Yes. Her face hardened immediately. Then don't come back. Okay. She looked at my jacket. I bought that. I took it off and tossed it onto the couch. There. Her eyes widened. You think I'm going to let you leave and say you never took anything from me? Everything you ever gave me. I gave something back. She started pulling old gifts from drawers. A watch, a wallet, random things. She shoved them toward me. I dropped them straight into an empty trash box. I don't want them. I started toward the door. She put her foot against my suitcase. Do we really have to make this ugly? I looked down. You pushed me toward an armed man. She swallowed. Evan. I didn't mean for you to get hurt. Move. You can withdraw the complaint. There it was. Finally. The reason she had waited. If the hospital disciplines me, I could lose my position. I almost smiled. So much for love. So much for closure. She wanted her job. Before I could answer, her phone rang. Ryan. She stared at the screen for 2 seconds before answering. Hello. His voice was weak enough that I could hear it from several feet away. Allison. Where are you? I'm busy. My leg hurts. She closed her eyes. I can't sleep. What if something's wrong? What if I can't walk normally? I laughed under my breath. Allison glared at me. I said loudly enough for Ryan to hear, "Go back to the hospital. Dr. Mercer obviously needs you." Ryan immediately said, "Am I interrupting something?" "No," I answered. Allison said, "Ryan, I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to interfere." I rolled my suitcase out. Maya was just stepping off the elevator. "That's all you own." Apparently, men are terrifying. We loaded everything into her car. As we pulled away, Allison's car passed us going the other direction, toward the hospital, toward Ryan. I laughed once. Maya looked at me. "You off tomorrow?" "Why?" "We're celebrating." "Celebrating what?" She looked offended. "You just escaped a terrible relationship." She grinned. "That deserves alcohol." So we went drinking. I drank too much, and sometime after midnight, with Maya sitting beside me, I started remembering another hospital hallway, another knife, another attack. Years earlier, I had been a young physician, still hoping to spend my career in surgery. It was winter. I had finished my shift and changed into a thick coat because I was about to leave. Then shouting started. An angry patient was confronting my mentor, Dr. James Harris. The man was furious over what he believed had been a medical mistake. He pulled a knife. I didn't think. I ran. My coat was thick. I was wearing winter gloves. I grabbed the attacker's arm and refused to let go. Dr. Harris survived. I survived. But my hand was injured badly enough that afterward, something changed. In ordinary life, it looked normal. Writing, fine. Driving, fine. Holding a cup, fine. But when I held a surgical instrument for a prolonged period, a tremor appeared. Small. But in surgery, small matters. Eventually, I transferred away from operating. Dr. Harris took the attack even worse than I did. He had suffered serious injuries and complications. While recovering, he cried and called me an idiot. "You should have run. I wasn't leaving you. You stupid kid." I had never regretted protecting him. Not once. And now Allison had turned that moment into an argument. "You did it before. Why not do it again?" As though courage was some subscription service. Maya put a hand on my back. "It's over." I stared at the table. "It doesn't feel over. It will." A few days later, Ryan was discharged. Reporters gathered around him because the hospital attack had attracted public attention. Ryan knew how to talk to cameras. "I'm not afraid of pain," he told them. "I'm only afraid of losing the ability to operate. There are patients who depend on us." People loved him. When asked about the attacker, Ryan paused thoughtfully. "I don't blame him." The reporter looked surprised. Ryan continued, "Everyone has difficulties. People make terrible choices when they feel desperate. I hope he gets help." The video went viral. Comments flooded in. "What an incredible doctor. So compassionate. He operated on my father. Wonderful surgeon. Too young to be this accomplished. We need more doctors like him." Then, at the end of the interview, Ryan looked into the camera and publicly confessed his feelings for Allison. Not long afterward, they made the relationship official online. A picture, matching smiles, a romantic caption. I stared at it for a long time. Then I hit the heart button, just so Allison would know I had seen it. Maya commented underneath, "Some people really are made for each other." She added enough sarcasm that nobody misunderstood. Several co-workers piled on. I sat there with my phone in my hand, laughing and crying at the same time. Then something strange happened. The anger disappeared. Not all at once, but enough. Maybe because she wasn't worth carrying anymore. Work became my escape. I picked up extra coverage, followed cases, reviewed procedures, worked until my lower back felt like it belonged to a 70-year-old man. One morning after an overnight shift, I sat directly on the hospital floor because standing felt unnecessary. A nurse walked over. "Dr. Carter." She handed me a small sandwich and a carton of milk. "What's this?" "Dr. Hayes left it for you." "Maya. She came looking for you earlier." I tore open the sandwich. The nurse hesitated. "Can I ask you something?" That sentence has never ended well. She smiled nervously. "Are Dr. Bennett and Dr. Mercer really together?" "Yes." "And did she really push you during the attack?" I stopped chewing. "So everybody knows?" "Pretty much." She shook her head. She always seemed so professional. I looked down at my food. That conversation gave me a bad feeling. The kind you get when you realize an institution is preparing to protect itself. Sure enough, the hospital investigation started slowing down. Then one afternoon, I was asked to observe one of Ryan's surgeries. His leg had recovered enough that he was back in the OR. Before the procedure, he spoke with the patient and family. Whatever he said made the patient's wife start crying. "Please, doctor, we're trusting you." Ryan smiled. "I'll do everything I can. But the patient has to fight too. His surgery was excellent. I'll give him that. Clean. Precise. Technically impressive." I stood behind the glass watching. At some point, Allison appeared beside me. She watched Ryan operating. "To become a doctor like him," she said. "Working hard isn't enough." I didn't look at her. "So, talent matters. Congratulations to him." She glanced at me. "You're still angry." I laughed. "According to you, should I have jumped in front of another knife today too?" She didn't even flinch. I don't think that was necessary. For one hopeful second, I thought maybe she had finally understood. Then she continued, "But medicine requires sacrifice." There it was. Again. "Some doctors can save more people than others," she said. "That's reality." I stared at her. If Ryan had damaged his hand, patients who needed his surgeries might lose their chance. Doesn't that matter to you at all? You're asking whether I should feel guilty that your boyfriend almost got hurt by the man you pushed me toward. He's an exceptional physician, so keep telling yourself. He deserves people who care about him. I finally turned. "Get away from me." After Ryan's surgery, the hospital called the four of us into a meeting. Me, Allison, Ryan, hospital leadership. The first sentence told me everything. "We believe there may have been a misunderstanding." I actually laughed. Allison explained calmly. "I was trying to pull Evan away. In the confusion, I moved the wrong direction." I stared at her. "You're terrifying." Her face tightened. "Excuse me, you did it. Now you don't even have the courage to admit it." She shot back. "You secretly recorded me after asking to break up. And I'm the terrifying one. I recorded what happened because people like you rewrite history." Ryan leaned forward. "Dr. Carter, don't you think this is becoming paranoid?" I looked at him. "The person who was actually injured was me," he continued. "Yet somehow, you're claiming Allison was trying to hurt you in order to protect me." That's exactly what happened. Several administrators shifted uncomfortably. Finally one said, "Even if contact occurred, you weren't injured." That sentence made my decision for me. So that's the standard. No one said that I was pushed toward an armed attacker. "Dr. Carter, if the hospital won't investigate properly, I'll file a formal police complaint and pursue the matter legally." Allison stood. "Do you have to destroy me?" I stared at her. "You think accountability is revenge? I know you're angry because Ryan and I are together." Ryan nodded. "Exactly. It was a push. Nothing serious happened." One senior doctor sighed. "You're all young. Sometimes younger physicians turn every disagreement into a workplace battle." Another said, "Dr. Bennett is talented. Dr. Mercer is talented. You're talented. Losing any of you hurts the hospital." I looked around the room. "You're really going to protect her?" "That's an unfair characterization." "Fine." I unclipped my hospital badge, placed it on the table. "Then I resign." The room went silent. Someone said, "Evan, don't be impulsive." I not. I walked out. One of Allison's senior mentors followed me. "Evan." I stopped. "Dr. Bennett was wrong." I waited. "But you shouldn't forget everything she did for you." I almost smiled. Here it came. "When you had appendicitis, she arranged your surgery. She took time off for your birthdays. You loved each other. I remember. Then let this go." "No." His eyebrows lifted. "Think about her career. She should have thought about it before she pushed me. She could lose everything." I looked at him. "She made a decision that could have gotten me killed." People were starting to gather nearby. The doctor lowered his voice. "Don't be so rigid. Sometimes being generous is the mature thing." Several people nodded. "Exactly. Nothing serious happened. Why make it worse? You're still young. Relationships end. Don't ruin careers." I looked around at all of them. Then I said, "I would rather you say nothing than stand here and explain why I owe forgiveness to someone who decided my life was expendable." Nobody answered. From somewhere behind the group, a quiet voice said, "Agreed." "Maya." She folded her arms. "People are always generous with someone else's suffering." The crowd slowly scattered. I went into the stairwell and sat down. My eyes hurt from exhaustion. I rubbed them. Maya appeared a minute later. "You're a doctor. You know rubbing your eyes like that is terrible." She handed me a heated eye mask. "Try this." "Thanks." I looked at her. White coat. Pens in her pocket. Mask. Then I noticed something missing. Her hospital ID. I stared. "Maya." "What? Where's your badge?" She smiled. "Oh, no. Yep. You resigned." She shrugged. "A hospital like this, I'll survive." I genuinely didn't know what to say. You heard everything. Me and half the building. They're going to think I pressured you. I don't care what they think. I looked at her. Why are you so good to me? For once, Maya didn't answer immediately. Then she smiled. You're my friend. No. She blinked. No, you're not that honest. She laughed. I studied her. Maya. You like me? She froze. Then groaned. How are you suddenly this smart? I laughed. For the first time in days, genuinely laughed. Then I exhaled. I'm sorry. Her expression softened. I know. I just got out of something ugly. I'm not ready. I know that too. Then why? Because I haven't asked you for anything. She bumped my shoulder. So relax. Before I could answer, a voice thundered from the hallway. Who's been bullying my student? I stopped breathing. I knew that voice. No way. I stood so fast the eye mask fell onto the floor. Then I ran. Dr. Harris. James Harris sat in a wheelchair near the entrance. Years had passed since the attack that ended his hospital career, but his expression was exactly the same. Warm eyes. Terrible temper. Don't Dr. Harris me. I went straight to him. What are you doing here? I heard somebody was bullying my student. My throat tightened. You could have called and give them time to prepare. He slapped my arm. Son, stop looking like that. My eyes were already burning. He lowered his voice. Don't be afraid. That nearly finished me. I'm here. Then Dr. Harris rolled into that hospital like a retired general arriving at a battlefield. Hospital administrators tried being diplomatic. He was not interested. Your trainees matter, but mine doesn't. Dr. Harris, my student once threw himself between me and a knife while the rest of you were trying to find somewhere to hide. The room went quiet. He protected me. And now somebody uses that courage as an excuse to push him toward another weapon. One administrator tried to explain that they were investigating. Dr. Harris slammed his palm against the arm of his wheelchair. Then investigate. He pointed toward Allison. Suspension. Administrative leave. Whatever your policy requires. And let law enforcement decide the rest. Allison went pale. Dr. Harris continued. A physician without basic ethics does not become ethical because she has good surgical numbers, someone said. Dr. Bennett believed she was protecting another surgeon. That is her personal relationship. He pointed at Ryan. That man's romantic history is not my student's medical responsibility. Nobody moved. And enough with this nonsense about surgeons being more valuable. His voice rose. Internal medicine, surgery, cardiology, emergency medicine. If you evaluate a doctor's worth by whether they happen to be holding a scalpel, then you've forgotten what medicine is. This was a man who had lost his own ability to practice the way he once had. A man who spent the rest of his career in teaching because violence had taken the hospital floor away from him. And that day, sitting in a wheelchair, he verbally dismantled the entire leadership committee. Other physicians finally started speaking up. Not gossiping, not whispering, actually speaking. Several backed my request for an independent investigation. The hospital changed course. Allison was suspended. The matter went to police and outside review. As she left, she stopped in front of me. You're cruel. I said nothing. I loved the wrong person. Before I could respond, Dr. Harris barked. Nonsense. Allison turned. He looked at her with open disgust. I regret ever encouraging the two of you. Then he looked at me. Come on, outside. I finally admitted what had been eating at me. Dr. Harris. What? If Ryan really had been badly hurt, he waited. If he lost the ability to operate and Allison lost her career because I pushed this investigation, my voice cracked. Everybody keeps saying I'm petty. He watched me. Do you think I'm wrong? His expression softened immediately. Son, he reached out and took my hand. If I had died during that attack years ago, would that have been your fault? No, exactly. But I chose to protect you. And that was your choice. He squeezed my hand. You don't owe that choice to every person standing in front of danger. I looked down. He continued. If the same thing happened again, I know you. He smiled. You'd probably do something stupid and protect me again. I laughed. Probably. But that doesn't mean Ryan deserves the same sacrifice. He looked back toward the hospital. Learn to judge people. His voice became quiet. You don't need to bleed compassion for everybody who demands it. When I wheeled him outside, Dr. Harris stopped and looked up at the hospital building. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he sighed. I thought I'd never come back here. I stood beside him. He glanced at me. Evan. Yeah, you are still a good doctor. I swallowed. Even without the OR. Especially if you understand what being a doctor actually means. He smiled. I can't operate anymore either. Then he pointed at himself. So I teach. His eyes lit up. I'm producing entire classes of little idiots like you. I laughed. That sounds dangerous. It is. The legal process took time. The hospital cooperated after the outside pressure. Security footage, witness statements, and the recordings were reviewed. Allison ultimately faced professional discipline and legal consequences for her actions. She lost her hospital position. After that, I stopped following the case closely. For the first time, I didn't need to know what happened to her every day. My life continued. Clinic, rounds, charts, consultations, coffee at terrible hours. My parents started asking when I planned to get married. I repeatedly pretended not to hear them. Maya and I stayed close. During the winter holidays, she finally stopped pretending. We were walking after dinner when she said, "I've been patient." I looked at her. "That sounds threatening." "It is." She stopped. "I like you. I know. I'm officially telling you now." I smiled. And you're supposed to respond. I thought about Allison, then realized something. I hadn't thought about her for weeks. Not with anger. Not with sadness. Not at all. I looked at Maya. "I like you too." Her whole face changed. Seriously. Seriously. That easy. Apparently, dating Maya was completely different. We studied together. But not because she expected me to become somebody else. We pushed each other professionally. She took continuing education courses and came home excited about things nobody outside medicine would understand. Whenever she traveled for conferences, she brought back ridiculous local snacks. She posted pictures of us constantly. I hated that, which encouraged her. On my birthday, she secretly recruited half our co-workers to organize a surprise. I walked into the room and nearly had a heart attack. Everybody shouted. I turned toward Maya. "You're dead." She laughed. "No evidence." Co-workers started teasing me. "Dr. Carter, can you please control Dr. Hayes?" "No." "Absolutely useless boyfriend." "Correct." Once I made cat-shaped steamed buns after seeing a video online. They looked terrible. Maya photographed them from 8 different angles and posted them like I had won a culinary award. My life became ordinary again. Only this time, ordinary felt safe. Then one afternoon, after parking near the medical center, I heard people arguing. I looked across the street. Ryan and Allison. For a second, I almost didn't recognize her. She had been released after dealing with the legal consequences of the hospital case. Her hair was messy. Her clothes were wrinkled. The polished physician I had known was gone. Ryan looked exhausted. Allison was yelling, "You men are all the same." He rubbed his forehead. "Allison, stop. Ungrateful. Completely ungrateful. Please. I gave up everything for you." People nearby were staring. She didn't care. My job. My reputation. Everything that happened afterward. Ryan said quietly, "We should break up." Her eyes widened. "What did you say?" "I can't do this anymore." "You think you can leave?" "Allison, no." She stepped closer. "You're not leaving me." Ryan looked like he had aged 10 years. She held out her hand. "Money." "What?" "You got your bonus. I gave you $7,000 last month. Gone." His face dropped. "All of it. Give me your wallet." He actually did. She grabbed his debit card. "What's the pin?" Ryan stared at the ground, then gave it to her. Allison walked away. Ryan stood there for several seconds, then slowly crouched near the curb with his head in his hands. A car pulled up behind him. The driver honked. Ryan didn't move. I walked over. "Ryan." He looked up. His face was miserable. "Move before you get hit." He stood. We happened to be heading toward the same building. He walked behind me for a while, then said, "You must really look down on me." I thought about lying. "A little." He laughed weakly. "Fair." We walked another few steps. "How did I do this?" he asked. I didn't answer. I was good. His voice broke slightly. I was a promising surgeon. People respected me. I stopped. "Your future wasn't destroyed by Allison." He looked at me. "You destroyed it." To my surprise, he nodded. "I know." We started walking again. "I think I lost my mind back then." "What do you mean?" "When I came back and saw you two together." He looked embarrassed. I kept remembering high school. The good old days. "Exactly." He laughed bitterly. "I convinced myself she was supposed to be mine." He shook his head. "I couldn't stand seeing her with you. So you wanted to break us up?" "Yes." At least he admitted it. Ryan stared ahead. "Now I understand how stupid that was." I waited. "You can compete over school." He counted on his fingers. "Career, money, status, research, positions." He looked at me. "But competing over a woman?" He shook his head. "That might be the stupidest thing I ever did." I couldn't argue. After another moment, he said, "Evan." "What?" I'm sorry. I kept walking. I sided with her after the attack. Yes, I knew something wasn't right. I looked at him, and you still helped them bury it. His face tightened. Yes. He took a breath. Can you forgive me? I answered immediately. No. He gave a small, sad laugh. I figured. Things like that aren't easy to forgive. I know. And you're asking very late. I know that too. We reached the entrance. Ryan stopped. If I were you, I probably wouldn't forgive me either. I looked at him. He nodded once. Still, I'm genuinely sorry. For a moment, I saw the man he probably could have been. Not Allison's first love. Not the brilliant surgeon everyone had worshipped. Just a tired man, finally looking at the wreckage of his own decisions. I didn't hug him. I didn't tell him everything was okay. It wasn't. I just gave him a small smile. Then I walked away. Maya was waiting upstairs. She had already sent me 3 messages. The first said, "Where are you?" The second, "I'm hungry." And the third, "If you don't get here in 5 minutes, I'm ordering without you." I typed back, "Coming." She immediately responded, "Bring coffee." I laughed. A year earlier, I had almost lost myself trying to understand how a woman who once cared for me so gently could decide my life was less valuable than another man's hands. I thought I needed an explanation. Then I thought I needed revenge. Then I thought I needed everyone to admit I was right. Eventually, I realized I only needed one thing: the courage to stop letting other people decide what I was worth. Allison made her choices. Ryan made his. The hospital made theirs. They all had to live with what followed, and I made mine. I walked away. I defended myself. I kept practicing medicine. I stopped apologizing for surviving, and somewhere along the way, without even noticing exactly when it happened, the life I thought had been destroyed became a life I was actually grateful to wake up to. I pushed open the stairwell door. Maya was standing at the other end of the hallway, holding to patient files and looking irritated. "You're late. By 3 minutes. Unacceptable. You said 5. I changed the rule." I smiled. "Coffee, obviously." She started walking beside me. After a few steps, she looked over. "What are you smiling about?" "Nothing." Suspicious. I reached for her hand. She looked down at our fingers, then at me. Her expression softened, and we kept walking. This story is entirely fictional and created for entertainment purposes. All characters, relationships, workplaces, medical circumstances, financial events, investigations, and legal outcomes are invented for dramatic storytelling.